I'm Millie Weaver, and you're watching the Millennial Millie show. So, the Democrat Party is absolutely imploding right now. With Trump kind of out of the way, the Democrats no longer have a scapegoat to point all the world's problems at. So, what's happened? The Democrats now are left to their own devices, and so infighting and outright chaos has begun to ensue amongst the Democrat Party. Well, you have multiple factions inside the Democrat Party, but the dominant factions are the establishment Democrats. I think Pelosi would be a good representative of that establishment Democrat movement or group inside the Democrat Party. But then you also have the progressive Democrats as well, like AOC and others, and many of these more radical progressive organizations such as Black Lives Matter, etc. So right now we're seeing chaos ensue and we're seeing infighting. Recently at a meeting where AOC was speaking, people inside the Democrat Party actually began heckling AOC, and really it was quite humiliating to watch. I mean, it was humiliating for her, I'm sure, but her arrogance really reflected how much lack of concern she actually has for her own constituents. They are calling her out for being a war hawk on many occasions now, but they're also just calling her out for being a failure. So let's go ahead and go to this clip of AOC being called out by Democrats. Sellout.
Very classy. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Are running up the streets of New York. They got some people like you. Come on, AOC, answer the question.
You know, this is all too familiar. This reminds me of the DNC in 2016 when the Democrat Party was infighting, when many people believed that the primary was stolen from Bernie Sanders, and you had Democrats marching in the streets saying, don't vote for Hillary, she's killing black people, Hillary needs to go to prison. I mean, they were chanting all kinds of things, right? And this was the Democrat Party chanting this, marching along the streets. So now we're also seeing the Democrat Party begin to call AOC a sellout. Why? Because we're seeing the Democrat Party endorse war hawk-like behaviors. You know, it used to be that the Democrat Party shunned the war hawks, right? We had the Bushes, we had these more establishment rhino Republicans who were all about going to war in other countries and essentially getting that funding and that money to the military-industrial complex. Now we're seeing how the establishment, the Biden administration, and these Democrats are just going lock and step with the war hawk agenda, wanting to get the U.S. involved in wars and proxy wars in other countries, such as in Ukraine. Now, I mean, AOC, her reactions and responses to being heckled and called out by her own constituents was pretty bizarre and outright immature. Check out this video clip of her immature.
Ma'am, you're saying
response.
ask us why y'all been talking for 20 minutes, okay? We know why. We know why you're mad. Let's talk about it.
I am not a man, there's only two fucking genders.
Okay. I'm not allowed to be in a room when the lights turn off. It gets a little, that's one of the things. All right, listen, okay, listen.
What is that? All right, okay, listen. Like, what is that? I mean, is this how a representative should be responding to when their constituents are clearly upset? I don't think that's it, okay? I don't think that's it. Now, we know that people across the board, parents especially, are very upset about what's been taking place inside of the public school system with critical race theory ideologies, as well as LGBTQ indoctrination going on inside the schools, but also the over-sexualization of children inside schools. Books and literature being introduced to children that are just outright inappropriate and many would argue is actually grooming. So in Dearborn, Michigan, parents were standing up and speaking out against this. Here you see the Muslim community, which the Democrat Party likes to claim ownership over, largely standing up and standing against their progressive LGBTQ agenda. So I guess you could say that those of them who would identify as Democrat might be on the more moderate Democrat side or kind of in line with the establishment Democrats. But really and truly, the people out here were saying that they don't want to be affiliated with any party. They're just parents that are upset. And so what we're seeing is we're seeing the Democrat Party imploding. We're seeing the Republican Party having infighting as well between the Rhino Republicans and then the grassroots conservative Republicans, essentially. So we're seeing the dual party system really having a lot of infighting here, because what's happening is the establishment is doing what it can do to maintain control and hegemony. So for the longest time, the establishment has had control over both the Republican and the Democrat Party, so that whoever won, right, no matter what, they were still in charge. So you have this problem where people are starting to become more politically active. They're expecting more from their representatives, and they're not getting what they want from their representatives. So you're actually starting to see more grassroots people running and beginning to become elected as officials. And so we're just seeing this infighting going on, but we're also meanwhile seeing just an outright exodus from both the Republican and the Democrat Party. Let's go ahead and watch a little bit of this clip here.
My name is Hassan Shermi. I'm nothing but a concerned parent in Dearborn, Michigan. Guys, we want to make something clear, okay? We want to leave the politics out of this. If you're on Facebook, all you see is fear-mongering political rhetoric that this is book banning, censorship, homophobic. All it is protecting our children. We as concerned parents in Dearborn are not tied to the left, to the right when it comes to this issue. And we're not going to be used as pawns for any organization for their own agenda. We're here to protect our children. Do not fall for the political rhetoric on Facebook, on Instagram. Do not fall for the trap, because that's what they want. They're trying to smear us. They're trying to control the narrative. They're trying to say this is homophobic. Listen, there's a book that was banned. It was called This Book is Gay. And I tell you, if the book was called This Book is Straight, we're still gonna go after it. Because it's teaching kids how to go online and have sexual intercourse with others on the internet. This is wrong. You do not expose kids to sexually explicit material. There's a poster right here to my right. There's a poster right here to my right that I had them cover up. I, as an adult, a 33-year-old adult, told them cover it up because I'm embarrassed to look at this. You think I want a 13-year-old to look at it? This is ridiculous. Any semi-decent human being, homosexual or heterosexual, knows when they look in the mirror that kids should not be exposed to this. Stop trying to control the rhetoric.
So this is powerful, because what we're seeing here is we're seeing Americans coming together united. They're not claiming any type of a political party per se, because that's what the media likes to do, is they like to keep it all divided. So you can have this team versus that team. They're actually just saying we're coming together on one important principle, which is we do not want our children being indoctrinated with sexualized material in the school setting. So this is powerful, and I think this is how you actually win. This is how you get past the psyops, the controlled narrative where they want to create two separate parties that they then pit at each other, and that's what they want. People no longer paying attention to the issues, right? what the person's actually saying or standing for, because if they can get everyone to just be paying attention to a political party or a group, it becomes this team versus that team. And then at that point, some people are so hell-bent on their team winning that they'll overlook other important issues. All right, so let's go into Joe Biden and what he's been doing, which is outright, I believe, election interference. I mean, he is trying to influence election largely by doing this. So Biden is releasing 15 million barrels of oil from the U.S.'s strategic oil reserve. Now, this oil is supposed to be there for emergencies. If there's a natural disaster, if the country ever goes into like a crazy war scenario, or like there's a serious problem, this is supposed to be that reserve for that purpose. Obviously, we're not at that level right now in the country, okay? Obviously. But why is Joe Biden doing this? Well, many people can clearly, with common sense, see the obvious. His entire time he's been in office as president of the United States, he has taken a very largely anti-oil and gas stance. All of the policies he has put forward has stifled oil. It has completely caused problems and pushed America further and further away from having energy dependence. They would rather us buy our oil and gas from a foreign country overpriced than actually produce it here in the United States, which would actually give people jobs and allow us to be independent. So instead of owning up to his failed policies, what is he going to do? He's going to start to use up our strategic oil reserves. Why? Because the Democrats are panicking about the midterms. With gas prices this high, oil prices this high, they need to try to artificially drive those prices down before the midterms so that they can go, see, look, everything's fine. Isn't Biden so wonderful? He's lowered those gas prices, because that's what they know has been affecting the American people. And even the Democrats are being hit hard in their pocketbooks when it comes to having to pay lots of money at the gas pump. So let's go ahead and listen to what House Minority Leader Representative Kevin McCarthy has to say about Joe Biden misusing the strategic oil reserve.
Country at risk. That was designed, the strategic petroleum reserve was designed for an emergency time period. He's using it trying to manipulate an election. Nothing to do about the market itself, because he's gone after the energy in America. We should put safeguards in that, because we do not want to jeopardize. What if we had a hurricane? What if we had a situation that went further when it came to war or others? He has just jeopardized the American people. So we're going to have to safeguard that you cannot use that for your political gain. It would to be used what it's supposed to. But we also have to go back and build what we need in America. You know, it doesn't matter what study you look at. It doesn't matter what form of energy you want. We have to have 50% more in the next 25 years because of the growth of our nation and the need and the desire.
That's right.
So this is crazy that Joe Biden is able to just, artificially try to boost his polls and boost the Democrats' polls before an election by trying to use up our strategic oil reserve. And that way, your average person who doesn't pay attention to politics will see, oh, look, the gas prices have gone down. Joe Biden must be doing something right. Well, that's not the case. And we all know that as soon as they use up the stores for what they've allowed, right, the American people to actually have access to artificially lower the gas prices, the price is going to shoot right back up, if not even worse. So it's a travesty. Now, let's talk about some of the MAGA Republicans that they want to demonize, right? The really just average American people that are fed up, that have decided, hey, I'm not a career politician, but I know I could do a lot better than these people in charge. Let's talk about people who are running in the midterms, people who are running for office, trying to get rid of some of these horrible establishment politicians. So this is Scott Jensen. Now, I didn't really know much about him until today. I actually saw a pretty eye-opening advertisement that he had put out on social media. Take a look at it.
If we do get arrested, we'll be bailed out within 24 hours. Thanks, Tim. With Tim Walz as governor, the criminals are in charge.
End Tim Walz's chaos. Vote Scott Jensen for governor.
I'm a criminal.
So he's clearly pointing out that when you have these Democrats in power, these establishment people, they just let criminals run amok if it fits their political narrative, like we saw with the riots that happened in Minneapolis. So he's clearly pointing out, I mean, you'd think with how absurd it is to point out that your opponent, which you're running against, allows this type of criminal behavior, but that's just the clown world we're living in right now. That's exactly what has been happening. So this is the truth. I mean, he's saying the person that I'm running against, Tim Walz, you keep him in, and this is what you're going to get. More rioting, more violence, more burning down buildings, and just letting these people go back out on the streets again. He's saying, if you vote for me, that's not going to be the case. And so I kind of looked into him a little bit, and, you know, anyone that bucks the system, they just go after them with the cancel culture mob. And so they've actually been going after Scott Jensen's his medical license, because apparently he's a doctor, and he's a doctor that has kind of spoken up a little bit about what's been going on with COVID-19 and some of the treatment options that are being pushed across the board by the mainstream. And so they're saying he needs to have his medical license revoked because they said that he ignored medical census. So just because a bunch of people are deciding to jump off of a building, does that mean we all should? I mean, that's stupid to say he just didn't go along with the consensus. But they said he was pushing treatments like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin for COVID-19. How dare he? He should have his medical license revoked. How dare he actually, you know, offer up something that not him, but many other doctors were saying could be used for COVID-19. How dare he try to save lives? Let's try to get his medical license pulled, but let's ignore all the myocarditis, all the other crazy side effects that are happening with the vaccine. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's get into BLM. All right, so we know that BLM, the fraud, I mean, unbelievable fraud that many people fell for, which is causing more contention inside the Democrat Party, mind you, okay? They're imploding because people donated millions of dollars to BLM, over $80 million to be exact, and that money was absolutely stolen and misappropriated and misused. Apparently, over $6 million went to a mansion in Los Angeles. I mean, the owners were just, you know, the leaders of the group were seriously financially benefiting their family members. For example, $969,000 went to the father of the child of Patrice Cullors, the organizer's then executive director and co-founder. Her brother's company received $841,000 payouts. The group paid nearly $2.2 million to a consulting firm owned by one of its board members. So they were enriching themselves with this money so they could live in mansions and luxury lifestyles. Meanwhile, they weren't doing anything to actually help the people of color, help the Black community and the many suffering people, especially the people suffering in Los Angeles, where we know there is a massive homeless crisis going on there right now. Now, speaking of Los Angeles, BLM protesters clashed with LA riot cops outside of a council meeting. Now, what is this about? Why are BLM protesters protesting a mostly Democrat council meeting? What is this about? Let's go to some of this video here so you can see.
Good morning. There are a lot of people here.
This white guy with this little black kid who's misbehaved. The kid is bouncing off the effing walls on the floor, practically tipping it over. There's nothing you can do to control him. Parece changuito.
I am reeling from the revelations of what these people said. Trusted.
So apparently some of the people on the LA City Council, there was a leaked audio of them making racist comments about a little boy. And so the woman originally who made the comments, she has actually resigned. That was Nuri Martinez. She resigned after that video went viral on the internet. But apparently there were 2 other city council members who were part of that meeting, essentially, that was recorded. Like, their voices were heard in the recording in other parts. And they are also now getting flack from the Democrats, and they're calling for their resignations as well. So LA Council member Kevin De Leon, he is one of the people have been, his own constituents, Democrats, are calling for him to resign. He's said he is not going to resign. He refuses to resign. So there's a lot of turmoil and fighting going on. And just recently, there were protesters protesting the LA City Council over a law which would criminalize the homeless on the streets, essentially putting them in jails rather than finding homes for them, which, these Democrats in California, they get all this federal funding, billions and billions and billions of dollars to help address the homeless crisis. But it just seems that money just gets squandered, wasted, and laundered. And the people are still homeless on the streets. And in fact, those numbers are rising steadily. It was around 41,000. Now we're looking at around 69,000 homeless people in LA. Absolutely disgusting. These people claim that they're for the poor. They claim that they're for the helpless, right? But they don't really do anything to help them, do they? They just sit there and virtue signal, and then when they're behind the scenes talking off camera, they're full of racist comments and vitriol and whatnot. So it's just a mess, okay? It's an absolute mess. Now, do you guys remember the documentary film that I did a while ago called Love Trumps Hate? If you don't remember that film, I highly encourage you to look it up. It's actually on my YouTube page. If you were to look and find it, it's called Love Trumps Hate. And one of the most fascinating things to me is that, during the time this video did go pretty viral, but I'm noticing now within the past year or so, it's actually going pretty viral amongst the YouTube community, where a lot of YouTube creators are actually doing response videos to this video. So here it is right here. Love Trumps Hate. Very, very powerful documentary. Very underrated. I know on Facebook it got over 5 million views, but on YouTube not quite as much. Now, I want to show a little bit of this video where a YouTuber called Queen Bee Reacts did her reaction video to this video. And what I'm noticing is that it's actually giving a lot of people who previously had very Democrat type ideologies or opinions start to actually see the truth and see what's really going on and what the mainstream media won't show you. So I'm going to kind of skip through and show a couple clips here of her reaction because I just love to see this. I love to see it.
I'm back with part 2, as promised. Millie Weaver documentary, Love Trump Hate. Let's go. What is good, Josh, your girl Queen?
It takes down our wages of our jobs, and our wages go down, and American people's wages go down.
And why do the wages?
Americans got to work for $8 an hour.
InfoWars, hell yeah.
So why do our wages go down?
Because they work for cheaper wages, and there's more people out there. There's more of us.
So basically, he's worried about the illegal immigrants that come here. They work under the tables, they get paid really low, and then Americans get put out of work.
Exactly. And it's even harder to find the jobs.
So if they came legally, they would have citizenship, and they would also be able to be hired legally.
Exactly.
And then they would be being paid the good wage as well.
Yep.
So in a way,
because I'm in the process of having, a change of heart, if it hasn't changed already, as you can see. But just being able to watch and actually see the good is amazing. Then somebody saying he say, she say, you know what I'm saying? I'm actually able to see facts now. when I once before was not able to see nothing. I was just going off he say, she say. Oh, don't vote for him because he did it. Don't vote for that person because they da. But now that I'm actually able to see this, I keep telling y'all, when I go down to vote this coming year, oh, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit different. Okay? I'm tuning in. Let's get back into it.
Go inside. Am I going to be safe inside?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I would with me. Okay.
Please.
Okay. See, there's been a couple people that said I can walk in with them and stuff.
To be honest with you, I would like to see more people of your skin tone with us.
That's beautiful.
Right in here. You're safe.
If I go in there and I take and I just start getting brave and I say something like and
Are you a Trump supporter?
I'm an independent supporter.
Oh, he wants to hear too. He's trying to invest.
Things resulted out of it, you know.
Why do you support Trump? So we're kind of
Why?
skipping
You
through
ain't
here
seen the
to give you
economy?
guys some of the best
You don't
parts.
see the gas prices? You don't see the stock market? The list goes on.
You saying the gas prices is cheap?
Yes, compared to what they'd be with anybody else in office.
Okay.
They'd be almost $5 a gallon.
Say it.
Well, what if
True. I know when I'm just gonna say it, when Trump was in the office, y'all, I put my tank take 25, okay? Because I got me a little Nissan or whatever. I could ride that 25 out through the whole week. Okay? Now, I get gas on Monday, having to refill my entire tank on Wednesday. So, if you don't see...
So
when Trump was in the
basically,
office,
in this video, I kind of take everyone through. I actually found a Democrat on the left-wing protest side who the protesters were all standing along the street heckling and protesting and shouting things at the Trump supporters who were all lined up at this Trump rally in Cincinnati, Ohio. So I actually found this guy, Marcos, who was willing to actually go with me to talk to the Trump supporters because he was convinced that he was going to get beat up or jumped if he tried to go there or go see the Trump rally. And he just believed all the lies from the mainstream media. And so we went over there, and slowly but surely you see he's just being met with all of this love from everyone. And, you know, and then to top it off at the very end, he says, all right, well, let's go back to the protester side where the Democrats are, and I'll show you how tolerant and loving they are. So then we go over there, and as you can imagine, it was kind of crazy, and you just see this eye-opening experience with Marco and how he really starts to see the problem with the Democrat Party. All right, come on, let's go over here.
I really hope Trump supporters become a little more educated in their lives.
Do you think that your message is going to resonate with Trump supporters?
Hopefully. You know, what do they say? My grandma always said, say it enough times for it to stick, right?
They blew smoke in my face.
Close the camps! 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 Close the camps!
right, they're rude, disrespectful.
Close the camps! 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 Close the camps!
No, you are wrong. I'm with myself.
Why your network is being sued? Can you please tell me why your network is being sued by the parents of
Don't
killed?
touch me.
I won't touch you, but you stop interfering in our protests.
I'm not interfering.
You're a traitor and a treasonous. You're a Russian agent. You're a Russian agent.
Marcos,
You're a Russian agent.
just got poked in the eye by your flag.
I did not. I was trying to get between her.
You can.
Y'all, when they out here doing this type of stuff, I really hope they got like security guards and stuff like that, because this is dangerous. Like they crap.
So, I mean, it's interesting to see people's reactions to this video because, you know, when it happened, it literally just all happened so naturally. And some people even tried to claim like, oh, this was staged. It had to be. No, I'm sorry, but you couldn't stage this. All right. This is what it's like I know because I've went to countless Trump rallies. I went to countless protests with these liberal protesters. And this is exactly what happens. You can't have dialogue. They scream and shout. They cuss you out. It's just absolute hate. And then when you go to the Trump rallies, you get love. And so I was really just documenting my own experience. But then I was also taking someone who largely consumes mainstream media narratives and believed all the lies being told about Trump supporters being the violent, racist, hateful ones, when that's what we see on the left-wing side. So if you guys have not yet checked out that video, make sure you watch that documentary. It's super powerful, and it's actually catching on now, and a lot of people are doing these reactions, and so it's waking up a lot of people. All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the Millennial Millie show today, and we'll see you next time on the Millennial Millie Show. I'm signing off.